The main event of WrestleMania is supposed to be special, something to make the fans go home happy, feeling satisfied, and excited about the future to come. And when they're good, they're really good. But when they're bad, they make you question why you even put up with it. I'm Umar with Real Take Sports, and these are the top 5 worst WrestleMania main events ever. Number 5, Randy Orton vs. Triple H at WrestleMania 25. The build-up to Randy Orton and Triple H's WWE Championship match had everything. An unhinged Randy Orton winning the Royal Rumble, Triple H breaking into Randy Orton's home, Orton handcuffing Triple H to the rope while forcing him to watch as he kisses the game's wife. Wow, that last one was really cringe. But the build-up to this blood feud saw student versus teacher, a battle of 2 former members of Evolution, which was set up to be a classic and end one of the most built-up blood feuds in the history of WrestleMania. But when it came time to do the match, the two just seemed to wrestle an ordinary wrestling match. Triple H did a few moves, Randy Orton did a few moves, and pretty soon, it was over. Triple H won, and it just didn't seem like the blow-off match of 2 people who wanted to maim each other, but rather of 2 wrestlers having an average TV match on Raw. Couple this with the fact that the 2 had to follow Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker, which blew the roof off the place and is considered by many to be one of the best matches ever. This main event just underwhelmed a lot of people. Number 4, Hulk Hogan vs. King Kong Bundy at WrestleMania 2. Now, I understand it's unfair to compare the product today with where it was just decades ago, but even by 1980 standards, Hulk Hogan vs. King Kong Bundy is a terrible WrestleMania main event. It was a match built on a gimmick of a steel cage and nothing else. Bundy was never treated like he belonged in the main event, and he just seemed like another guy for Hulk Hogan to beat. Hogan, on the other hand, escaped the cage after 10 grueling minutes of inaction, winning the match with nothing really happening. The fact that WrestleMania 2 was an event riddled with gimmicks, including the whole 3 cities in one night deal, is perhaps fitting for a match that was itself just a gimmick. Number 3, Hulk Hogan vs. Sid Justice at WrestleMania 8. WrestleMania 8 was a barrage of firsts. It was the first WrestleMania that promised a double main event, as Vince McMahon put it. And in one of those headline matches, we saw the Macho Man Randy Savage take on Ric Flair for the WWF Championship in what would be Ric Flair's first WrestleMania match. And it also just happened to be the first WrestleMania where the World Championship match didn't go on last. No, that honor went to Hulk Hogan and Sid Justice. Now, don't get me wrong, at the time, this was an intriguing match, and honestly, anything involving Sid is at least somewhat entertaining. But the problems were in the execution of the storyline. The feud started when Sid eliminated Hulk Hogan in that year's Royal Rumble, after which a salty Hulk Hogan helped Ric Flair win by pulling Sid over the top rope, costing him the match and the WWF Championship in the process. This obviously enraged Sid, who went on a quest to get his revenge out on the Hulkster. And on paper, this sounds great. You've got the motive, the history, and everything it takes to build up a good match. The problem is, Hulk Hogan went into this feud as the face and Sid as the heel. It was backwards. You had all the reason to be sympathetic with Sid, but the announcers in WWF played it up as if Hulk Hogan was supposed to be the hero. Take that, plus the ending of the match, which saw Sid being forced to kick out of the legendary Hulk Hogan leg drop after a missed run-in spot by Papa Shango, and you get a cluster of disasters and poor execution. Thank God the Ultimate Warrior returned to at least give the fans some sort of feel-good moment before the show ended. Number 2, John Cena vs. The Miz at WrestleMania 27. 2011 was a weird year for WWE. Instead of getting matches with the likes of Daniel Bryan, Chris Jericho, and CM Punk, we were treated to elongated segments of the Khali Kiss Cam. WWE were obviously in a transition period with John Cena at the helm, and the product just seemed to be getting stale. Enter The Rock, who returned that year to feud with Cena and freshen things up. The problem was, however, The Rock wasn't the WWE champion at the time. That honor went to one Mike Mizanin of Cleveland, Ohio. Cena went on to challenge Mr. Mizanin at that year's WrestleMania, And The Miz and Cena went out there and had a match that would have been mediocre by any standards. It ended with both men getting counted out after a big spot involving the barricade, Miz suffering a concussion, and The Rock coming out to restart the match, then hitting Cena with a rock bottom to give Miz the win. In conclusion, it was a boring match. The WWE Champion looked horrible, Cena got beat by The Miz, it wasn't a clean finish, nobody got over, and it just left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. And number 1, Hulk Hogan vs. Yokozuna at WrestleMania 9. WrestleMania 9 is considered by many to be one of the worst WrestleManias ever, and you'll be hard-pressed to find many who disagree. One of the primary reasons for this was because of the show's ending. WWF Champion Bret Hart took on that year's Royal Rumble winner Yokozuna in a match that was typical of most of Yoko's matches. Short, not full of many exciting spots, and ending with Mr. Fuji throwing salt in the eyes of the opponent. All of those things happened, and Yokozuna went on to win the WWF Championship in lackluster fashion. But Omar, that's not too bad. At least they created a new monster heel in Yokozuna, right? Wrong. Enter Hulk Hogan, who made his return earlier in the night to hit the ring, begin to help a blinded Bret Hart up the ramp before being challenged right then and there to a WWF Championship match. Now, this wasn't a match that was advertised and made zero sense having it right then and there, but alas, Hulk Hogan would accept. He would beat Yokozuna in 22 seconds to become the new WWF Champion as a way for the WWF to try to recapture the energy of Hulkamania for one more run. That didn't happen. Hogan would soon drop the belt to Yoko, which means all of this happened for absolutely no reasons, making it the worst main event in WrestleMania history. If you like that list, be sure to hit that like button. Also, subscribe for new videos every day, and be sure to hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Until then, keep it real.